Alright, this is Systems of Equations. I believe it is section 7.5 in your books. And this is supposed to be me making his head bigger than the rest of his body. Kind of like unequal. Yeah. Alright, well, all we're doing here, it's kind of like the regular system of equations, but now they're systems of inequalities, okay? So, we're going to be presented with inequalities, and we're going to have to graph basically a region that represents the system. Alright, so let's start off simple. Y is less than or equal to x. All we're doing for these is we're just considering the regular graph. So y equals x. We're going to graph it. So that's just a line. Goes to the origin. Okay. And then we got to think about this. What side needs to be shaded, basically? Basically, we split this graph into two areas with this line. One region will satisfy the inequality and one won't. Well, just take a really easy point. Let's consider 2, 0. If I plug that in, I'm going to get 0 is less than or equal to 2. Right? I plug in 0 for y, plug in 2 for x. Is this true? Yeah, it's true. Therefore, I already know that the area that needs to be shaded is this area, alright? And you get the point. You can just use your pencil to kind of just shade it in. Just make it clear. Alright, so that's the graph of y is less than or equal to x. And you can see what happens is if I plug in, say, 0, 1, this point right here, I'm going to get 1 is less than or equal to 0, which is not true. So that point does not satisfy the inequality, and neither will any of these points. Alright, we can also have a, not complicated, but more complicated than y is less than or equal to x. What we're going to do again, we're going to just write it as a regular equation and graph it. So this is a parabola shifted down 2. Okay. So it's going to look like this. And we're going to test out a point. Because again, just like the line, this is breaking it up into two regions. It's still just two regions. This is the region inside the parabola right here. And it's the whole region outside the parabola. The easiest point to test is 0, 0. Alright? If I plug that in, I'm going to get 0 is greater than or equal to 0 squared, which is 0, minus 2. And I'm going to say 0 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Is that true? Yes, it is. Therefore, our region is this region inside of the parabola. And I didn't draw it, but it's going to go all the way up here, right? Because the parabola will go all the way up here. And all of this stuff out here will not satisfy it. Alright? So those are just one inequality, right? Y is less than or equal to x. Y is greater than or equal to x squared minus 2. Now we get to the system. So this is a system. And we're going to have to consider more than one inequality. So, ready? Let's start with the easy one here. Y is equal to x. We did this one already. Okay? It's a line. Now, let's figure out what side it needs to be on. Well, I consider the point 0, 1. Does that work? It's going to be 1 is less than or equal to x, and x is equal to 0. Yeah, do that. 1 is less than or equal to 0, which is not true. Therefore, we must be shading this region down here. Okay. Which is the same thing we did over here, right? These are just both the past two equations. But then we also have to have the parabola of y is equal to x squared minus 2. Remember, I'm just writing it like this because we're just going to graph this. Okay? And remember, it was everything inside because it's greater than. So we're going to be highlighting everything inside. And we're looking for the area that overlaps. And we're going to find it's this area right in here. So our solution is this area that I'm highlighting in red, because this is the area where y is less than x, but also where y is greater than or equal to x squared minus 2. Basically, we had two conditions. It had to be over here in the yellow, and it had to also be in the green. Alright, the only spot that happens is right here. Alright? Many times you're going to get things that look like x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? All that means is that it's got to be over here. Alright? This is the area where x is greater than or equal to 0, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are all negatives. Right? Y is greater than or equal to 0. Again, that's all of this area. Right? So what we did was basically say it has to be in this quadrant right here. But our final piece of information is that this is supposed to be, don't mind me right here, y is less than or equal to negative x plus 4. Well, this is just a line that starts at 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's got a slope of negative 1. Right? And we're going to see that if we test out the point 1, 1, we're going to get 1 is less than or equal to negative 1 plus 4. 1 is less than or equal to 3, which is true. So it has to be somewhere in this area down here. Alright, well, now, where is the only area that satisfies all these conditions? Remember, it had to be in this quadrant, because it had to be over here on the x-axis, it had to be up here on the y-axis, and that leaves this area right here. Right? It satisfies all three conditions. Okay? And that's all we're doing here. You're going to be given multiple inequalities, so a system. You're going to graph each one at a time, just like you'd graph them normally. And then you're going to test points to see which side fulfills the inequality. You're going to shade that side. You're going to do that for all the inequalities, and then the part that has all the parts shaded is the area that satisfies the system. Alright? So, question, what does the graph of right here, the system, look like? And I did the same thing. And I said that the yellow highlighted area is the area that satisfies all three. Good luck, bye-bye.
We got laughs from coast to coast to make you smile. A real